Hello, technology lovers. Welcome to our channel, Tech with Wise. Are off-roading really a thing of the past? Have you ever experienced the luxury, innovation, or versatility of a BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Tesla, or Audi? These giant automakers are rewriting the rules of driving comfort, combining cutting-edge technology with unparalleled precision. But with technological advances like adaptive suspension taking center stage, one question remains. Are we on the cusp of a revolution, or is there more to discover on the road ahead? Hello, technology lovers. Welcome to our channel, Tech with Wise. I am Adam R. Wise. This channel highlights the latest technologies designed to develop technical skills, train, and provide products and tools to stay up to date with the latest developments in the ever-evolving world of technology. Today, we start something big. This is one of the great topics on our blog, Adam R. Wise. We'll leave the link to the blog in the description box or in the first comment below the video. You can read this article from our blog. We have done an amazing experiment to turn this topic into a podcast and present it to you without any changes. We have added a bunch of scenes to the video to entertain the viewer. We recommend focusing on the dialogue. We are waiting for your opinion in the comments. Let's watch.
Okay, have you ever hit one of those potholes that just makes you cringe?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we all have. And it seems like no matter how carefully you drive, you can't always dodge them.
Nope.
Well, today, we're going to dive into how some cars are fighting back against those bumpy rides.
Oh, nice.
Turning those jarring jolts into, well, something a lot smoother.
Okay.
It's all thanks to adaptive suspension, and we've got this really cool article.
You ready?
It's titled Bumpy Rides No More, The Magic Behind a Comfortable Drive. It really breaks down this game-changing technology.
Yeah, adaptive suspension is it's pretty amazing stuff, really transforming the driving experience.
So before we get into the how, let's talk about the why.
Okay.
Why are bumpy rides such a universal pain for drivers? I mean, we all hate them.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the surface, it's just the discomfort, right?
Nobody likes that feeling.
No, nobody enjoys feeling every bump and crack in the road. But, you know, there's actually a deeper layer here. Yeah, bumpy rides, I mean, they can actually compromise safety, too, you know?
Oh, okay.
Think about it. Hitting a pothole at high speed could lead to a loss of control, swerving.
Right.
You could even get into an accident.
That's a really good point. So it's not just about comfort then.
Right.
It's about safety, too. Which brings us to adaptive suspension.
Okay.
So how does it work? How does it actually address these issues?
So picture this. Your car has like a built-in brain that can sense and react to the road in real time.
Huh. Interesting.
That's essentially what adaptive suspension is doing.
Wow.
It uses sensors that are constantly monitoring the road surface, your speed, even the weight distribution in the car.
So it's like the car has a sixth sense for the road.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
All that information goes into an onboard computer.
Okay.
And then it tells special components called dampers how to adjust the suspension.
Interesting.
And this all happens in milliseconds.
Wow.
So by the time you actually hit that pothole, the suspension is already adjusted to soften the impact.
That sounds incredible, but I'm kind of having trouble picturing it.
Yeah.
I need like a real world example.
Sure.
Something to help me wrap my head around this.
Okay, well, the article mentioned the Chevrolet Corvette.
Right.
And it uses something called magnetorheological dampers. Have you heard of those? Magnetorheological dampers.
Okay, so it sounds like science fiction, but...
Well, yeah, kind of does.
Is it real?
Oh, it's very real.
Okay.
And really cool. So imagine a fluid inside the dampers that can change its thickness almost instantly.
Really?
Yeah, based on magnetic fields. So the computer can use this to fine-tune the suspension in a remarkably precise way.
Wow, that's amazing.
It can turn even a traditionally stiff sports car into a really smooth ride.
So we're talking smooth ride even in a Corvette, which is, you know, known for performance.
Right, exactly.
Now, the article also mentioned the Audi Q7 and its air suspension system.
Yes. How is that different?
Well, the Q7 is a great example of how adaptive suspension isn't just about smoothing out the bumps, you know?
Okay.
Because its air suspension can actually change the car's ride height.
Oh, wow.
Making it equally at home on the highway or, like, tackling some rough off-road terrain.
So it's like having two cars in one.
Yeah, kind of. Luxury and adventure, all thanks to adaptive suspension.
So it really seems like it's a lot more than just a comfy ride.
Absolutely.
There's a lot more to this technology,
Right.
it seems like.
Yeah, adaptive suspension, it really improves handling and stability.
Yeah.
Especially at high speeds.
Okay.
Or on challenging surfaces. And, this ties back into that safety aspect.
Right, of course.
A car that can adapt to the road is inherently a safer car.
Okay, so we've got smoother rides, we've got better handling. I'm pretty impressed, but I'm guessing there has to be some kind of downside here.
Well, there always is, right?
Right.
I'd say the biggest downside is probably cost.
Adaptive suspension involves a lot of high-tech components.
Right.
And that adds a premium to the price tag.
Yeah, that makes sense. What other factors should we be aware of?
Well, these systems, they do add weight to the vehicle.
Okay.
And that can impact fuel efficiency, especially for electric vehicles.
Oh, right. Makes sense.
And because these systems are relying on all these electronic components, it does take some energy to operate, which can reduce an electric vehicle's range a bit.
So it's not a perfect solution then, but it seems like the benefits might outweigh the drawbacks for some drivers at least.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people it does.
So how can we kind of get a clearer picture of how adaptive suspension stacks up against a more traditional system?
Well, the article included this really helpful table comparing the two.
Okay.
I think it really highlights those key differences. It really comes down to, the dynamic nature of adaptive suspension versus the fixed settings of a traditional system.
Okay, so I'm looking at that table now.
Uh-huh.
It really is impressive how adaptive suspension makes those real-time adjustments. It's like having a chauffeur who's constantly fine-tuning your ride based on the road ahead,
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Versus you're just kind of stuck with whatever the manufacturer decided was best for everyone.
Exactly. And, it brings up a really interesting question. Is adaptive suspension just a luxury feature?
Okay.
Something that will always be reserved for high-end cars? Or will it become more mainstream eventually?
That is a tough one. Right now, it definitely feels like a luxury.
Yeah.
But, as technology keeps evolving and those costs come down, maybe it is something we'll all have.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll all be cruising around in cars that just glide right over those potholes.
I think it's definitely a possibility, especially with the increasing focus on autonomous driving these days.
Right.
Where comfort and stability will be even more crucial.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the article also mentioned a few specific car models that have adaptive suspension.
Right.
And it was a pretty diverse group.
It was.
You had the luxurious Mercedes-Benz S-Class.
Yep.
You had the sporty Porsche 911. Even some more mainstream options like the Volkswagen Golf.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how this technology is making its way from those luxury cars into some more affordable models, even if it's still an optional extra in a lot of cases.
Yeah, that's true. So it really seems like it's not just for people seeking that super cushy ride.
No, not at all.
Adaptive suspension could make driving safer and more enjoyable for everyone.
Yeah, that's an excellent way to put it.
Well, it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. Who knows what other innovations are coming down the road, right?
Right. So it's pretty amazing to think about all the engineering that goes into something like, a smooth ride, something we often take for granted.
Totally.
But as we've been talking about, adaptive suspension, it really takes things to a whole new level.
It really does. And what's interesting is how it affects ride comfort on like a more granular level.
Okay, so what do you mean by granular?
Okay, so think about this. Every time your car hits a bump, the suspension has to, absorb that impact.
Okay.
With a conventional suspension, that amount of absorption is fixed.
Right.
It's determined by the springs and dampers.
Okay, so you're just stuck with whatever the road throws at you.
Pretty much. But with adaptive suspension, the system is actually analyzing the road surface.
Okay.
And it adjusts the damping force in real time.
So it's not just absorbing the impact, it's anticipating it and adjusting.
Precisely. And that translates to a much smoother ride.
Okay.
You feel less of the impact, less vibration, less of that jarring sensation, that you get on rough roads.
I can imagine that makes a big difference, especially on like a long drive.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on the highway and hit a rough patch.
Yeah.
With adaptive suspension, you can just cruise along, no problem. But in a car with conventional suspension, you're getting jostled around.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm starting to understand why some people are willing to pay more for this, It's a real game changer.
It is.
For comfort and just the whole driving experience. And, you mentioned different driving modes earlier.
Oh, right, yes.
How do those play into this?
Yeah, so those driving modes, they really have a big impact on how the adaptive suspension behaves.
Okay.
In comfort mode, the system is prioritizing a more plush, relaxed ride. Perfect for cruising or city streets.
Okay.
But if you switch over to sport mode, the suspension stiffens up.
Okay.
Gives you sharper handling.
Interesting.
A more responsive feel for a more engaging drive.
So you're not just getting a smoother ride, you're getting a ride that's customized to your driving style or the conditions.
Exactly. It's really versatile.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it's not just a one-size-fits-all solution.
Yeah.
It can really adapt. Okay, so we've talked about comfort, we've talked about performance.
Yeah.
But what about fuel efficiency?
That's a great question. Because it seems like all those adjustments, all those real-time reactions must take a lot of energy.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a bit nuanced.
Okay.
But some adaptive suspension systems can actually improve fuel efficiency, believe it or not.
Really?
Especially at highway speeds.
But how is that possible?
Well, some systems can actually lower the car at higher speeds.
Okay.
Reducing that aerodynamic drag.
Okay.
Like a cyclist tucking in.
Makes sense.
To go faster.
Right. Less drag equals better fuel economy.
Exactly. But there's also the added weight, to consider.
Right. Because those sensors, computers, all the adjustable dampers.
All of it.
It all adds up.
Yep. And more weight means the engine's got to work harder.
Right.
And that could actually lower fuel efficiency.
Exactly.
And then there's also the power consumption to think about.
Okay.
For EVs in particular, those electronic components do require energy to operate.
Okay.
So it could reduce the car's range a little bit.
So it's a balancing act then.
Yeah, it is. It really depends on the specific system.
Okay.
And how it's implemented.
You're right.
But overall, I don't think the impact on fuel efficiency is really that major compared to other things.
All right.
Like driving style or vehicle weight.
So with all those benefits, why isn't this standard on every car?
I think cost is the big one. Adaptive suspension is a pretty complex technology.
Yeah.
And that means it's expensive to make and install.
Makes sense.
So car manufacturers, they have to balance those costs with what people are willing to pay.
Absolutely. And, for a lot of buyers, especially those who are looking at more affordable cars, maybe adaptive suspension isn't their top priority.
Yeah, exactly. And some people might actually prefer a more, connected, sporty feel.
Right, and that's why it's important to remember this isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. It's a great option for those who really prioritize comfort, and they want a car that can adapt.
Right.
But it's not a necessity for everyone.
Exactly.
But as the technology keeps advancing, do you think we'll start seeing this more often?
I think that's definitely possible.
Okay.
Especially with the rise of electric cars.
Yeah.
Where those smooth, quiet rides are even more desirable,
Yeah, if you're already driving a nearly silent car,
right,
you don't want that ruined by a bumpy ride.
Exactly. And I think as people get more used to the benefits, the demand will probably go up.
Okay.
And then that could drive down prices,
right,
make it more accessible to more people.
Yeah, so it's a win-win.
Exactly.
More demand, lower costs, even more demand.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
So this has been a really interesting look into adaptive suspension. We talked about how it works, the pros, the cons, even its potential impact.
Right, on the future of driving.
Wow.
What else is there to explore?
Okay, so we have explored the what and the why. Now, what about the what if?
What if? Okay.
What if you were designing the future of car suspension?
Oh, okay. I like that.
Not just driving, but, actually designing it.
Okay. So like a blank slate, no limits on budget, technology, anything goes. What would be on your list for that ultimate suspension system?
Oh, man. First, I'd want to really amp up the responsiveness.
Okay.
Imagine a system that could predict those road imperfections, not just react to them.
Oh, wow.
Sensors communicating with infrastructure,
Good.
Getting data about potholes, speed bumps, even upcoming curves.
That's next level.
Right. And then preemptively adjusting.
So the car would know what's coming before I even see it.
Exactly. And then let's talk personalization. Imagine a suspension that learns your driving style, knows your preferences. Do you like a sporty feel or a super smooth ride?
Yeah.
It could tailor everything to you.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's like a custom-made suit, but for your car's suspension.
Exactly. And what about sustainability? Could we make a system that harvests energy from the bumps and vibrations?
Okay, now that is next level.
Right. Think about it. a mini power plant for your car.
Oh.
Turning those potholes into energy.
Okay, that could be a game changer, especially for electric cars.
Exactly. And finally, accessibility. We've got to make this tech more affordable. Available to everyone.
Okay, so we've got comfort, control, sustainability, and affordability.
Yeah.
That would be incredible.
It would be a revolution in driving.
So maybe one day those bumpy rides will just be a distant memory.
Maybe. Who knows?
A relic of the past.
That was fascinating.
That was.
Adaptive suspension. It's more than just a smooth ride.
It is.
It's like a glimpse into the future of driving, where comfort, performance, and technology all come together. But here's the question for you. What kind of ride do you want?
Yeah, think about it.
What would your dream suspension system be like?
Okay, so we've covered how adaptive suspension works. We've talked about the good and the bad.
Yeah. And even imagine what the future might hold for this tech.
It's exciting stuff.
It is. But let's get back to reality for a sec. The article mentioned that we're starting to see adaptive suspension in more types of cars.
Right.
Not just those super expensive ones.
Uh-huh.
Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, for sure. The Volkswagen Golf is a good one.
Okay.
Popular car.
Uh-huh.
Pretty affordable. And you can actually get it with adaptive suspension.
So it's becoming more accessible.
It is.
For us regular folks.
Right.
What's it actually like to drive a car with adaptive suspension, though?
Oh, it really does change the feel of the car.
Okay.
Imagine driving on a bumpy road.
Uh-huh.
But instead of feeling everything, the car just kind of glides. It's like it knows what's coming.
Yeah.
And adjusts before you even hit it.
So it's a smooth ride?
It is, like a magic carpet ride.
That sounds pretty amazing. And what about those different driving modes? We talked about comfort and sport.
Right.
How do those change things? So comfort mode. The car's all about that smooth, relaxed ride.
Okay, makes sense.
Good for cruising or city driving.
Uh-huh.
But then you switch to sport mode.
Okay.
And the suspension stiffens up.
Oh, interesting.
Gives you a more connected feel.
Like a totally different car.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It is. So let's say someone is thinking about buying a car with this technology.
Okay.
What are some things they should keep in mind?
Well, we talked about cost.
Right?
It's still a pretty fancy feature.
Uh-huh.
So it'll add to the price.
Makes sense.
But you got to weigh that against the benefits.
Yeah, the comfort, the handling, even the safety.
Exactly. It's something to consider.
Definitely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into adaptive suspension, what's the one big thing you hope people remember?
I think it's important to remember that this isn't just some gimmick.
Okay.
It's not just for luxury.
Right.
This tech can really improve the driving experience for everyone.
That's a great point.
Whether it's the comfort, the safety, or just being able to handle different roads.
Yeah.
It's a real step forward for cars.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive.
Yeah, time flies.
It does. But before we go, we want to leave you with one last thought.
Okay.
Cars are getting more and more high-tech.
Oh.
So how do you picture the future of driving?
Good question.
Will adaptive suspension become the standard?
Yeah.
Or will there be even more incredible inventions?
Who knows?
We'd love to hear what you think. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Until next time, happy driving.
Thank you for joining us today on our channel, Tech with Wise. We hope you enjoyed this video. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What features, innovations, or training in technology interest you the most? Your feedback inspires us to share even more cutting-edge ideas. You can also view the latest articles from our blog, Adam R. Wise, by clicking the link in the description box or in the first comment below the video. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to stay updated on the latest technology and innovations. Here's a little teaser. In the following video, you'll discover the key AI-powered features to look for when choosing the best motorcycle, how AI-powered technology is reshaping every aspect of driving, from safety to connectivity and performance, and how it's transforming motorcycles into smarter, safer, more adaptive machines. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss it. See you next time. Keep exploring, innovating, and staying ahead of the curve with Tech with Wise.